There comes a moment in every person's life when the silence becomes heavier than words. You open your eyes one morning, and you feel it. Something inside you whispers, "I can't keep living this way." It's not about pain anymore. It's about the weight, the invisible weight that grows every time you hold on to something that should have been released long ago. You carry memories like stones in your pockets. People who left, words you never said, versions of yourself that you kept alive just because you were afraid to let them die. You carry guilt for things that were never your fault, expectations from people who never really saw you. And then one day, you realize that everything you hold on to holds on to you. You are tied to your own past by invisible ropes made of fear. Fear of change, fear of silence, fear of seeing who you are without the noise around you. It's not life that makes you tired. It's the resistance, the constant effort to keep carrying what is already finished. Sometimes we confuse familiarity with peace. We stay in pain because we know its rhythm. It feels safe, even when it hurts. But that comfort is the prison of your growth. You are not meant to repeat the same story every day. You are meant to evolve, to breathe deeper, to forgive faster, to move lighter. And when you finally stop resisting, when you let the silence fill you instead of scaring you, something magical happens. The noise fades, the weight begins to fall off. And what's left is something you might not recognize at first. Peace. Not the kind that's loud or dramatic. The quiet kind. The one that feels like coming home after being lost for years. You start to understand. You were never broken. You were simply carrying too much that was never truly yours. Letting go is not losing. It's remembering who you are without the weight. Breathe. You can put it down now. There's a moment in life when everything goes quiet inside you. Not because the world finally stopped shouting, but because you did. You stop arguing with your pain. You stop asking why. You simply sit there and realize you have two choices: stay the same or rise. Awakening is never dramatic. It's not lightning or thunder. It's the quiet realization that you are the only one who can save yourself. Nobody is coming to rescue you. No apology from the past will ever give you peace. No person can fill the emptiness inside that only self-respect can heal. Awakening begins the moment you look at yourself in the mirror and say, enough. Enough waiting, enough pretending, enough blaming the world for the choices you keep making. Change doesn't happen overnight. It begins quietly, with one honest decision: to eat better, to move more, to forgive yourself, to speak kindly even when no one is listening, to stop searching for love in people who don't love themselves. And with every small act of truth, your soul begins to stretch. The fog starts to lift. The heaviness slowly fades. You begin to remember what light feels like after years in the dark. You don't become new. You simply remove everything that isn't truly you. That is awakening. It's not a battle to win. It's a homecoming, a return to your own strength, a remembering of who you were before the world told you who to be. So breathe again. Lift your head. Look at how far you've already come. Change isn't something you wait for. It's something you choose. Every morning, every breath, every quiet decision to keep going. This is your awakening, and it begins right now. Letting go is not a single moment. It's 1,000 small moments when you stop fighting what already ended. You wake up and think about them again. the person, the dream, the version of you that failed. But this time, instead of running toward it, you stay still. That's letting go. You see the messages you'll never send, the memories that visit you at night, and you smile, not because it's easy, but because you finally understand that peace matters more than closure. We think letting go means forgetting. It doesn't. It means remembering without pain. It means accepting that not everything broken is meant to be fixed. Some things are meant to teach you, not to stay with you. The process of letting go feels like dying a little each day, but what's really dying is the illusion of control. You stop replaying what you could have said, what they could have done, what life should have been. You stop asking for the past to explain itself, and slowly the grip of pain loosens. You start to breathe again, deeper than before. You notice that the world hasn't ended. It just got quieter. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the art of trusting that what's meant for you will never need to be forced. Some people will go, some doors will close, and you will cry, not because you're broken, but because your soul is cleaning itself. You're not losing, you're releasing. You're making space for something purer to arrive. So breathe again. Inhale the silence. Exhale the past. Letting go is not about forgetting who you were. It's about loving who you are enough to move forward. Gratitude begins where resistance ends. When you finally stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start whispering, "Thank you for what it taught me." That's when your heart opens. That's when healing begins. Gratitude doesn't mean pretending that pain felt good. It means seeing the pain shape the strength you now carry. The truth is, life has always been both cruel and kind. You can't control which one visits you, but you can choose how you welcome them. Be grateful for the silence, because it's in silence that you hear your true voice. Be grateful for the heartbreak, because it showed you how deeply you can love. Be grateful for the struggle, because it revealed how far your spirit can stretch. And then there's forgiveness, not the kind you announce to the world, but the quiet kind that lives deep inside your chest. Forgiveness doesn't mean saying, "It was okay." It means, "I won't let it poison me anymore." You don't forgive people because they deserve it. You forgive because you deserve peace. Forgive them. Forgive yourself. Forgive the moments when you didn't know better because you were still learning how to live. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it's freedom. It's the light that enters once you stop closing the door to your own heart. So breathe in softly. Whisper thank you to every version of yourself that survived. Gratitude and forgiveness are not destinations. They're a way of walking with peace, with compassion, with trust in life's mysterious rhythm. You are no longer defined by what hurt you. You are defined by how beautifully you chose to heal. Becoming isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before you forgot your worth. The new self is not born from perfection. It's born from patience. From every silent morning when you chose to keep going, even when no one saw you trying. Becoming is choosing discipline over chaos, peace over noise, purpose over comfort. You start building routines not to control life, but to honor it. You move your body not to punish it, but to thank it. You eat to heal, not to hide. You rest without guilt. You breathe without rushing. The new self doesn't need to prove anything. It no longer fights for attention. It creates presence. You realize that silence isn't emptiness. It's your most powerful language. You begin to enjoy being alone, Because solitude is no longer loneliness, it's your sanctuary. You stop chasing validation and start radiating self-respect. You stop talking about your healing and start living it. Becoming means you no longer beg the world to see your light. You simply let it shine. And when people ask what changed, you smile because they'll never understand how many nights it took to glow like this. This is your becoming. Quiet, grounded, unshakable. You no longer need to chase peace because you are peace. The journey never truly ends. It only changes its rhythm, from chaos to calm, from noise to silence. You begin to understand that life isn't something you fix. It's something you walk through, learn from, and learn to love even when it doesn't make sense. The person you are now once dreamed of this peace, this quiet strength. You're no longer running, you're observing. You're no longer asking, when will I arrive? You're realizing that every step, even the slow ones, is the arrival. The journey continues in every breath you take with awareness, in every sunrise you notice, in every act of kindness you give without expecting anything back. You stop chasing meaning and start becoming it. You trust the unknown because you've learned that uncertainty is where life's most beautiful chapters begin. The journey continues when you stop searching for signs and start listening to silence. When you forgive faster, love deeper, and speak softer, you no longer wish for easy days. You wish for days that grow you. You carry your past not as a weight, but as wisdom. You walk lighter now because you've learned that peace isn't found. It's cultivated. So if this is your journey too, walk gently, speak kindly, trust deeply, and remember, you are never behind. You are exactly where your soul needs to be. The journey continues in silence, in strength, in gratitude, and in love.